Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today is May 20th, and it would have been the birthday of one of the greatest actors of all time, Jimmy Stewart. So, in honor of his birthday, I will be talking about my 10 favorite films from him. So, let's get into it. So, before I start, I want to include some honorable mentions, 4 to be exact. And these are 4 films I wish I included on the list, but there are so many great films that Jimmy made, so I had to kick them off the list, unfortunately. So those films are The Naked Spur, The Shop Around the Corner, The Man Who Knew Too Much, and Harvey. So, now let's get on to the list. At number 10 is the film I watched today for his birthday, and that is Destry Rides Again, starring, obviously, James Stewart and the always great Marlene Dietrich. This film is a Western, and I believe it was Stewart's first Western. It pairs him with Marlene Dietrich for the first time. The two made another film together in 1951 called No Highway in the Sky, which I have seen and I do like. It's just not good enough to fit the list. But this film is really funny. I really did enjoy it. And it's been on the watch list for quite some time now. So to finally have seen it is, I'm really happy about it. And I'm glad I watched it today for James Stewart's birthday. And it has more of a lighter tone than you would expect. But there are some darker moments in the film, especially near the end. And that really shocked me, and I was quite moved by a certain scene involving Dietrich and Stewart near the end. It also has a great supporting cast with Brian Donlevy as the villain. Jack Carson also makes a small but noteworthy appearance in the film, and there are plenty of other classic actors from the period that are in this film. And Dietrich and Stewart are great. They have great chemistry, and they're terrific in this film. At number 9 is the first of 4 collaborations between Stewart and my favorite director of all time, Alfred Hitchcock, and that is Rope. Rope is possibly most famous for its use of one take. It's not all shot in one take, but it looks like it's shot in one take, and it's quite impressive. It's also known for being set in one location, and that is the apartment of the person who's murdered at the beginning of the film by 2 boys, played by Freddie Granger and John Dahl, who are both terrific. But the standout is definitely Stewart. His performance is amazing, and although he doesn't have the biggest role in the film, Granger and Dahl do, but he still stands out, and he is the standout of the film. And the film is also looks beautiful. It was shot in Technicolor. And yeah, it's probably among my top 10 favorite Hitchcock films. It's one I need to rewatch because it has been about a year. But from what I remember, and I've actually seen it twice, but from what I remember it's such a great film. And it's one, like I said, I do need to rewatch. I'll probably watch it this upcoming Hitchcock month, or maybe even sooner. But yeah, this is a terrific film, and I believe it was the first James Stewart film I did see. Okay, at number 8 is a film I did want to place higher, but because I have so many films that have the rating of 10 on 10, it rates at number 8, and that is The Philadelphia Story. Now, if you saw my Cary Grant top 10 favorite films video, it was like top 6. Here it's top 8 because the other 7 films I just prefer, and I love just a tinsy bit more, but I just love The Philadelphia Story. It has one of the all-time great cast with Cary Grant, Katharine Hepburn, and James Stewart, obviously. Incredibly funny, incredibly timeless, just a terrific film. I keep using the word terrific, but all 10 of these films are terrific. This one is just amazing, and yeah, it's another film I'm dying to rewatch. I just rewatched it in August, though, so probably won't rewatch it for a while, but you know, this film is one of the all-time classics, and I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. Now, at number 7 is my favorite John Ford film. You know, I love John Ford to death. I love the majority of the films I've seen from him, except for a couple like Magombo and Drums Along the Mohawk, but this is easily my favorite, along with The Searchers and My Darling Clementine, and what's the other one? Oh, Stagecoach, sorry. Yeah, this is The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, also starring John Wayne, Vera Miles, and Lee Marvin, who plays the titular character. And I really love James Stewart's character here. He's a lawyer. He's very, what's the word? Calm and cool. He's the opposite of John Wayne's character, Tom Donovan, who, so I like that dynamic between Wayne and Stewart's characters, and it's one I did rewatch, and I think on a rewatch I love it less, but I still really enjoy it. And the scene, spoiler alert, this is a spoiler, the scene where Liberty Valance is killed is really well done, and it is one of my favorite scenes in all of Ford's filmography, and I've only seen about a little bit more than 10 of his films. But yeah, this film, one of the greatest westerns I've ever seen. If I forgot to mention, if it's a western, it's just amazing, and I can't wait to rewatch it. Coming at number 6 is You Can't Take It With You, which I believe was the only film that had James Stewart that won Best Picture, which shocks me because, you think of, you would think that films like It's a Wonderful Life or Vertigo or Rear Window would have won Best Picture, but they didn't. Some of them weren't even nominated. It's a Wonderful Life was, but that lost to The Best Years of Our Lives. And I believe Vertigo wasn't nominated, but I think Rear Window was. I might be wrong about that. No, I think that was just nominated for Best Director for Hitchcock. But, yeah. But this is, I believe, the only film that he was in that won Best Picture. And you look at it and you're like, that doesn't make sense. But the film is really, really fun. It's a little schmaltzy at times, but I could look past that. It's directed wonderfully by Frank Capra, and I believe this was the first of their 3 collaborations together. They would collaborate on 2 other films, which I will talk about on this list, obviously, because they're iconic. And then it also pairs Jean Arthur with James Stewart for the first time. And they're great together, like they always were. And the supporting cast might be my favorite part of the film, because Lionel Barrymore, he's the standout. You think of him as Mr. Potter from It's a Wonderful Life. He's grumpy, he's mean, but here he's completely different. He's happy, everything that is the opposite of Mr. Potter, and so lovable. I just love him. And I love Edward Arnold also as really he's not bad guy, but he's sort of the antagonist of the story. And yeah, this film is really, really fun time. It's a little long, if you ask me. 2 hours is a little long for a comedy, but I could look past all of that, because this film to me is a masterpiece, and it deserved to win Best Picture in my opinion. And that's coming from the person who thinks that this isn't the best film of 1938, and probably isn't even in my top 3. So that is You Can't Take It With You. At number 5 is Otto Preminger's courtroom drama masterpiece, Anatomy of a Murder. And let me just say, this film is long, nearly 3 hours, but it is enticing from beginning to end. And let me just say, one of the best courtroom dramas ever made. And I haven't seen much, but from the courtroom dramas I've seen, this is one of the best, along with 12 Angry Men and Witness from the Prosecution. And is it Witness for the Prosecution. Yeah, I think the performance from James Stewart is one of his best, one of my favorite. He deserved that Oscar nomination. I wish he did win, but he lost against Charlton Heston in his overdramatic performance for Ben-Hur, which is unfortunate, but Ben-Hur, one of the greats, so it won everything, so that sucks. But Anatomy of a Murder is great, and it does have a Criterion release. It also has a 4K release from Columbia, so if you're interested in buying it and you do collect physical media, either one of those options. Obviously, the cheaper option is Criterion because the Anatomy of a Murder 4K is not in that Columbia Classics box set, which is normally expensive. But, you know, if you're interested, definitely check it out. And if you're a fan of James Stewart and you haven't seen it, drop everything you have in your hands and go watch it. You'll be mesmerized. So that is Anatomy of a Murder at number 5. Now moving on to number 4, which is let me get it. So this is the only James Stewart movie I have with me downstairs. I brought it down with me for no reason, but that is Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. So I first watched this for my 25 movie challenge, my first 25 movie challenge. I have finished my second one. I will do a video on that soon. And I liked it a lot. I liked it. Didn't love it. I kind of expected more out of it. But I got this for quite cheap, only $15 on Amazon. And so I waited and I waited. I was going to do a Jean Arthur Actress of the Month. I ended up scrapping that because there isn't much of her filmography that I haven't seen that I'm interested in. There's only a couple of films, so it wasn't worth it. And I was planning to rewatch this then, but I needed to rewatch it for this video because it is a major part of James Stewart's filmography. It was obviously his first Oscar nomination, and I think he should have won. He obviously lost to Robert Donat in Goodbye, Mr. Chips. I haven't seen that, but I bet you I'm like 99% sure that it's nowhere near as good as his performance here. And Jean Arthur is also terrific. Like, Jimmy Stewart isn't the only great part about this film. The other performances are absolutely amazing. The ending, the filibuster, everything about this film is perfect. And I'm so glad I rewatched this today. I actually rewatched some of it last night. I was so tired that I went to bed. Not because I was bored from this film, obviously. But then I got up. First thing I did was finished it. And I was like, yeah, that's a perfect movie. And it's definitely shot up in the rankings for me. I also love Claude Rains' performance in this film. So good. So good. And I think my favorite performance from him is probably in Casablanca or Now Voyager. But this is up there. His performance as Joseph Payne is absolutely phenomenal. And I also love Edward Arnold, though he doesn't have much screen time. I mean, he doesn't have like a small amount of screen time, but he isn't in it for a lot of time. But he does shine, and he is really great as the villain, as he usually is in most of the Capra films that he plays the villain. Not most, all of them, sorry. And if you're going to purchase this film on Blu-ray, definitely get this. I know it's in the Columbia Classics box set, but it's really that box set specifically is really expensive. This is the Digibook. I know that there is a normal Blu-ray, but if you, which does include everything that's on this disc. So if you're worrying about exclusive special features, don't worry about that. But if you want a little more, you want to read up on the film, you know, you've got stills from the film, the restoration, because this was a 4K restoration, comes with a booklet, obviously because this is a digibook, and it talks about James Stewart, Jean Arthur, I believe Claude Rains too, and Frank Capra, obviously. I'm not going to show you everything, but, you know, just to get an idea. So this is a really great release if you're a fan of the film or you want to see the film. Kind of just doing an in-depth review of this. Well, not in-depth, but like a review of this instead of the film. Yeah, this is an amazing film, and definitely one of the all-time greats, along with many other of Stewart's classics. Okay, at number 3, really 3 to 1, they're all interchangeable, depending on the day of the week. So, for now, at number 3, I have the film Rear Window, directed by Alfred Hitchcock. One of my favorite films of all time, definitely in my top 10, you know. These 3 are all in my top 10. And, yeah, this is possibly Hitchcock's best film. Not my favorite. One of my favorites, but it's not my favorite. Definitely his best film. But I think I think the standout for me is Thelma Ritter, but since we're talking about James Stewart, and this is a James Stewart centered video, I have to talk about him because I can't believe he gave the performance he gave in a wheelchair. Like, he's in a wheelchair for the entire film, and he gave one of the greatest performances of all time. I can't believe that. And it's with James Stewart, it's hard to rank his performances because they're all great. None of them are bad. And this would probably be my top 5, depending on the day of the week, because you've got so many great James Stewart performances. But this film is really phenomenal. Grace Kelly is also great, and Raymond Burr is really scary as the villain. I believe his name is Lars Thorwald. Yeah, but he's great. So really, this entire film is amazing, and the cinematography is also a standout. And that set of the apartments, really, really amazing and technically well-made film. So that is Rear Window. If you're getting into Hitchcock, definitely start with either this or North by Northwest, Psycho. Those are his most accessible films, and so definitely check Rear Window out, and basically all of Hitchcock's filmography. At number 2 is probably his most famous film. It's probably his most watched film. It's a Wonderful Life, the greatest Christmas movie of all time, and one of the greatest films of all time. I've only seen it twice because I only watched it at Christmas time. I actually watched it on Christmas Day last year, and it's really, really touching film, a really touching story. I don't need to explain the plot to you guys. George Bailey is one of the greatest characters in all of cinema. I'm about to sneeze. Sorry. I also love Donna Reed, Henry Travers, Thomas Mitchell. The entire cast. It's an iconic film, and that's why it's been watched every Christmas. And this is probably my favorite James Stewart performance. I say that, and I realize the next film I'll be talking about, my number 1 choice. So it's maybe not my favorite performance from him. Sorry, but it's up there, and he's really terrific, especially in the second half. And I love this film, and it's probably my favorite Frank Capra film. It's either that or It Happened One Night. And by the way, Frank Capra's birthday would have been 2 days ago, and I wanted to make a video, but I just didn't have the time, so sorry about that. So that is It's a Wonderful Life. If you haven't seen it, it's another one of those films where you should drop everything you have in your hands and just go watch it. But the perfect time to watch it is at Christmas, obviously. Then at number 1, I have Vertigo. I've talked a lot about this film before. Don't need to say much about it. It's just one of the greatest things ever put on screen. I think James Stewart's performance is possibly the greatest thing I've ever seen, or like the greatest acting I've ever seen. And I haven't seen it much. I've only seen it 3 times, but each time I've watched it, I've grown a new appreciation for it. And I think I've said this story before, but the first time I watched it, wasn't a fan of it. The second time I watched it, I absolutely loved it. And the third time I watched it, I absolutely loved it. And I actually rewatched it recently. So, so that is Vertigo, possibly Hitchcock's greatest film. I say that with every single film of his. But, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you weren't too bored by it. If you liked it, please like. If you didn't like it, dislike it. It won't matter to me. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And in the comments below, put your top 10 favorite James Stewart films, or top 5, or just name all the James Stewart films you've seen. And if you want to know every James Stewart film I've seen, I will put a link down below in the description. It will send you to a list of mine where I ranked all the James Stewart films I've seen. So I'll see you next time. And that's a wrap.